Okay, everybody, welcome. Welcome to our case study with myself and Miss Annie. Hi, Annie.
Hi there. How you
Thank
doing?
you. Thank you for being here. I'm okay. I know we've both been very, very busy. This is going to be a little different than our other case studies because this is sort of a way of me introducing as well Annie, who is a big part of our team and a big part of the Hache Protocol reset. So welcome, Annie. I just wanted to I want you to introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm Annie Svenson, and I am a treatment coordinator for Pain Free for Life. And I head up the treatment coordinator team. We have 4 total people. There's myself, 2 other people, Robin and Andrea for home users, and then Ariel for practitioners. And yeah, I've been working with the company for 2.5 years. My background is as a massage therapist and a certified holistic nutritionist. And prior to working with Rob, I helped people in chronic pain. I basically worked with people in chronic pain as their kind of like accountability coach and helping them to find the right tool set for them to manage pain, because I didn't even really know that healing was possible, which is more about pain management, because I didn't know about you. I didn't know about microcurrent. So once I did, I obviously jumped in and purchased a device, and then pretty quickly it became evident that we needed to be working together. You needed what I could help with, and vice versa. So that's how I came on board. And yeah, so it's been like 2.5 years at this point.
Yeah, no, and it's been great. I think I remember when we first met, it was like you were talking about what you do, and I'm like, this is exactly what we do, just without the microcurrent part, right? So it definitely felt like it was a solid match. And yeah, then when it came down to the need for the treatment coordinators, I mean, we got so many clients, and I was kind of serving that role, and it was just not sustainable. I couldn't do interviews, and I couldn't do events like this, and also help people. I know you have probably a couple of thousand clients that you work with yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So why don't you explain a little bit about what the role of the treatment coordinator brings to the table? Because we've probably got some new people here, as well as people that maybe have memberships already that didn't know that they had access to this. Because as you said, it's only been around for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So basically, when someone purchases a device, their order gets routed to me, and I either take it on or I pass it to the different treatment coordinators. And what we do is we reach out with what we refer to as our initial email. And that email is introducing ourselves. It's a link to how to sign up for the trial to the Hache Protocol video library, which then can lead into a membership long-term if the person chooses. And then we also have a link to our intake form. So then the client fills out the intake form. We take a look at that and we respond to them with the protocols that we recommend based on their conditions and what they want to focus on, what they want to treat. And oftentimes that email is, what videos to watch to understand your device, where we recommend everyone start, conditional protocols for each individual, all of that kind of stuff. And then we just sort of start this relationship and this back and forth between us and the client, answering their questions and offering encouragement or celebrating them, and their successes and all of that kind of stuff. So we're really there to just kind of walk through the journey with people and to help them understand, how to use the device and how to get the best out of it.
Yeah, oh, that's perfect. I think when it comes to there's some confusion as well, right, between what roles you take on versus the actual, like, especially in the reset that we've got coming up, because Annie is actually going to be running a lot of the live Q&As and co-hosting some of them with me in the reset program. So ultimately that's a little bit different because there's some differences between the microcurrent treatment coordination and what the program offers. Did you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so the treatment coordinator program is really focused on helping people with their device and with the microcurrent element to the Hache protocol. The reset and the group on Facebook and all of that is more to touch in on the other 4 elements of the Hache protocol. And so the treatment coordinator, that you're working with may not have all the answers for everything that you need to know about the reset, which is where the Facebook group comes in handy. You can ask questions in the group. You can wait for the Q&As and ask the questions. That's really sort of the platform for that. So they're complementary in the fact that the Hache protocol reset discusses and uses microcurrent, but the treatment coordinators and the video library are very specific to microcurrent.
Right.
So they're, you know, they're complementary, but definitely separate and insular in a certain way.
Yeah. And I think that the information in the reset is really focused on, it focuses a lot on how the elements go, right? And how we get those sorted and work them in. So I actually think from the content itself, a lot of it makes sense. And then if you need those twice a month Q&As, you've got those to come there and say, okay, so now I'm wondering about, you know, I think I've enacted this properly, but what do you think about this supplement? Should I be taking this still? Or, you know, am I taking the right amount? And, you know, those are the sorts of questions I would expect people to ask in the reset Q&As. But you're right that depending on the treatment coordinator you're assigned to, you may not actually, they may not actually have that information, right? It depends on their background and their training.
And their focus is really the microcurrent side of things. So, and that's where they're really gonna shine and be the most helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as your experiences go, right? I mean, 2.5 years, so a lot of people, 2,000 patients, like, I mean, what can you think, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you think of like a recovery that just totally blew you away? Or some sort of crazy result that surprised you?
Yeah, I think it's really what I'm always so encouraged about is just the change people can make over time. You know what I mean? Like, I think we all love the, Lori treated someone with Parkinson's once and he was good to go stories, you know, and those are always fantastic and amazing, but they're not the norm, and for me, what I really value about this and what I really get pumped about is the people who show up, who are consistent, who take ownership, who are patient, who do what we ask them to do, and who see those results over time. For example, I got an email this morning from a gal we've been working with, and she's been using the vaginal probe. And when she started with it, she couldn't feel it.
Right.
She couldn't feel it working. And she's been consistent and she's been patient, all those things that we ask our clients to do, and she can now feel it. And what that tells me is that we've treated the scarring that's in the area, healing's occurring, the brain and the body are now communicating again, so that's the kind of story. It might seem like kind of, oh, whatever, to people, but, that's the kind of story that really gets me excited, when people are consistent over time and they can have their pain pump removed, or their vision gets better, or, we have a couple who are helping their son. He fell, has a head injury, landed on one side of his body, hasn't been able to really move his arm. And the other day he could like reach all the way up into the sky with his arm that hasn't been working for 18 months. Like that kind of stuff, I get a little choked up. That kind of stuff is just so cool, and for me, like on a personal level, I have a family member who purchased a device after a very major accident. And I don't have a version of him with having not used microcurrent and having used microcurrent. I can't do an apples to apples comparison, right? Because he did use microcurrent, but just the sheer amount of scarring that he had from his surgeries, 3 major surgeries, being able to use microcurrent and treat that, I think directly contributed to the amount of success that he's had, things that he was told he would never be able to do again, that he can. So those kinds of things, it's just really exciting to see how things can shift and change. What's sometimes frustrating for people is sometimes there are setbacks. Sometimes people experience something called a healing crisis, which is sometimes things get worse before they get better. The good news there is that change is occurring. The body is changing and shifting and something is happening. So it's just time to kind of push through that and wade through the crap to get to the good stuff, right? And knowing that the good stuff's on the other side. And we're here to help people get there. But yeah, I just love hearing from my clients when the good things have happened. Not that I don't want to hear when the bad things have, that's what we're here for. But I feel like sometimes we don't always get the feedback, the good feedback. You know what I mean? Oh my God,
you miss that. The person feels
Yeah.
better and they stop contacting you, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't tell you. And then maybe a couple months later, they reach out to you and they're like, oh, I need to treat this. And you're like, well, how's everything else going? Oh, that's fine now. And you're like, oh, great.
yeah.
Would have been perfect to hear about it.
Yeah.
I know we message each other back and forth these successes when we get them. Like,
Yes.
this is what this person just said, and this is amazing. And you're right. It's easy to get hung up on the big victories, the ones that are just like, whoa, holy cow, how did that go from like, in a wheelchair to walking again, right? In like a couple of days. But it's the consistency that clients put in that really, it has to be driven home, right? Don't stop, because the thing I hate hearing the most, I'm sure you hear this too sometimes, is, oh, this isn't working for me. I started doing vagus nerve for a few days, and then I kind of, I didn't notice a difference, so I stopped. And now it's been 3 weeks and I'm still not getting better. But it's that lack of consistency. Like something like the vagus nerve takes time to change, right? And we're retraining sometimes decades of chronic pain out of a person, right? So,
or people who haven't slept well for decades, you know what I mean? And then they start doing, our sleep protocols, and they start sleeping. You know what I mean? That's huge. But the adage in the holistic healing world is that for every year you've suffered a condition, it can take a month to heal.
Right.
So I've got a guy I'm working with right now who has had Crohn's for 11 years, expected results immediately. And it's like, this could take a year to really start to, but is that not worth it? You know what I mean? Like if you come out the other side having resolved Crohn's, will it not have been worth the time and effort that you've put into it? And I think part of the thing that I'm really excited about with the reset is we ask people to take stock at the beginning, and we ask people to take stock at the end. I don't think a lot of people do that. And sometimes it's really, we forget how much things have shifted if we don't do that. And I'm really excited to get into the mindset piece of pain and how that plays in, how the brain and the body communicate, and how the brain works and facilitates pain, because the same area where we feel emotion in our brain is where we feel pain. And so there's this link there that I think is really important. And I'm really excited to kind of dig into that.
I think we dig into all of these things that we don't really touch upon, like in general. It's not what because most people come to us and they're like, oh, I've already tried all of these things. Right. But the interesting thing, and the thing that I think has been really great about the homework for the Jumpstart, is that it's shown that, yes, they're already on top of a lot of these things, but most people are missing one. It's one thing. It's like, I'm a 7 or 9 on everything, but fitness is a 4. Right. And, there's an aspect to that we can analyze now, and we can put that into play. As far as mistakes maybe that people make, and you probably see that a lot, like common mistakes, fears. I know one of the most common mistakes I've seen is people not doing the treatments that they're told to do. And what would you have to say about these kind of common mistakes you see in treatment coordinator world?
Yeah, I think it's just not using the device. You know what I mean? Being afraid of it. Right. That's the thing. I think it's just people are afraid of it. It's current, right? And I think they get worried that they're going to hurt themselves, or it's very, very unlikely you're going to hurt yourself.
Right.
You might get the power a little high and feel a zap, but guess what? You just take the electrode off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not, it's not like it has to stay there sizzling your skin. This is not, very rarely will we tell people that something that they're going to do is going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I can think of 2 examples off the top of my head. So for the most part, it's just getting people comfortable and confident to just treat. And we have thousands upon thousands of people using these devices every day. Successfully, with great results, not injuring themselves. So it's just kind of putting aside that fear. And it's also, I think, sometimes for people finding the time. And in my opinion, some of that comes down to just a misunderstanding of what self-care means and how important it is. And, I'll have a lot of older women who for years, they've put everything into their family, into their children, and now they're in pain and they have to step back and take care of themselves for the first time and really prioritize themselves. And that can be hard to do, but it has to happen.
Yeah.
You have to create the time and the space to make that happen. So
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. Just to prove a point here for everyone, I will put this device on and I will stick it on my tongue and I will not zap myself to death. Okay, so I can feel the current.
Mhm.
It's there, it's tingling, but it didn't like, and this is a wet part of your body. Okay, so you will be fine. It is
Yeah.
not going to cause you problems like in that way. And fear, I think, is one of the biggest things. And it's so strange to have come to that point where you're like, I'm going to try this. And then to get it and look at it and think, I don't think I can try this. Right. It's definitely, to me, that shows a lot of stress and anxiety that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And that device is going to help you do it. Right. So,
And the hard part is, given how this is set up, right? We can't do this for people. They have to do it for themselves.
yeah.
They have to do it for themselves. They have to take that ownership and they have to do it. We can help them, but we're really in a place where we are helping people be their own healers, which is ultimately how it is no matter what. Even if you go to see a chiropractor, a massage there, all these different things, when it comes down to it, you have to take ownership and do it for yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's all about those pieces, that ownership, acting, consistency. Those are really important. Otherwise, you've got all the tools and you're not using them, right? And you're just. I did see a quick question that someone just said, does it feel like a TENS unit? It's quite a bit weaker than a TENS unit.
Yeah, I find it way more comfortable than a TENS unit. I've used both. And the thing about this is, TENS only temporarily blocks the pain. It doesn't create resolution.
Yeah.
And for me, it's such a different sensation. It just feels more natural and comfortable. A TENS, I always felt like I was on the verge of it felt staticky. You know what I mean? I was on the verge of kind of like, oh, I don't really like the way this feels.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way with our devices.
Yeah, no, it's really, it's a real gentle tingle. Like maybe it tickles you a little bit if you're really ticklish person, but I don't know.
Well, and the more I've used microcurrent, the more I like the power higher. You know what I mean? Like I kind of like, my brother was here treating last week and he was like, I kind of like when it's a little on the painful side. You know what I mean? Everybody, this is not a no pain, no gain situation by any stretch of the imagination. People get very worked up about that. What's the right level of power? Well, it's different for me. It's different for you. It's different for me from day to day.
Yeah.
It can be different within a treatment. What's comfortable at the beginning of a treatment may suddenly be too little of power, too much, and so I have to adjust. It's all about how the brain is perceiving the treatment as the treatment goes on. It's all about how stress in that day factors in, hydration, sleep, all of these different components. So yeah, there's a lot of variables, but the more you treat, the more you understand that and get to know your body, which I think is great.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the real important thing, right? Is guys, like if you're listening and you've taken this up and you're ready to go, or you had a device for a while and you didn't know you could get help from a treatment coordinator, Annie and the team, like if you are in the membership, they're standing by to help you, right? So this is a resource you're potentially not exploring. I mean, as far as like just how it works in general, we do kind of say Monday through Friday, right, Annie? Like, I don't think we have treatment coordinators that work weekends.
We have to have some boundaries.
Yeah,
we got to take care of ourselves so we can help other people.
Yeah, exactly. And usually responses within 24 hours is what we strive for. So it's often quite a bit quicker than that in my experience from what people have told me, but it depends. Like, do you have 50 people need something one day or do you need 10, right? It definitely varies on the day, but our priority is you as the client, and that's where we're all really at. And ultimately, Annie and I meet once a week. So if there's anything that stumps you somehow, it's pretty hard now after 2.5 years.
It's getting harder and harder. Sometimes I feel like I know the answer, but I just need a little backup just to be sure. But yeah.
Yeah. So as far and just to clarify again, as far as the reset goes and all of the other 4 pillars of the reset, like you will be helping people with that throughout the course, in the Q&As, in the Facebook group, and I will be as well. Yes. But then they may have a microcurrent treatment coordinator who would be different depending on who they're assigned to, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, everyone, that's Annie, that's me. So thank you for joining us today. I do think, if you really are on the fence about getting in to the reset, I don't think you should hesitate at this point. There's so much in there that you can get from this. And it's really, I think the thing that scares people the most is taking the action to actually get in and do it. What we want to do in the reset is we want to give you the answers to these questions. You have to take action. You have to do it yourself, but you don't have to figure and think out, like, what is it that I actually have to do here? Like, am I taking the right supplements? Like, what sort of dosages is that? Should I be eating that? So many people have concerns about diet. They have concerns about all of these different things. What's the right thing for them? And the truth is, you won't know until you figure it out, and you have to act and figure it out. And so this is what the reset is set up for. So if you do want to get into it, then find out from your concierge, text Leo, and try and get access to the reset course. I think Annie and I are tomorrow, for people that are already in the reset, we're doing a Q&A, just the pair of us. So you can show up and you can ask us questions. We'll go through everything as we can. And then Annie is back with me again on Wednesday for our third and final bonus session. And we'll be talking more about what treatment coordinators do and how they can assist you in general. So that's it. Thank you, Annie, for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Back to helping clients now.
Yeah, yes. Jumping right back in. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Right. You guys all take care.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.